You ever walk into an Apple store and just feel something different? There's this energy, right? A vibe that most retail stores can only dream of. Well, today, we're going to deconstruct that magic. We're diving deep into the system Apple built to create one of the most loyal, most passionate customer bases on the entire planet.
And it all starts here. This isn't just some catchy marketing slogan. It's literally written into the DNA of the company. This whole philosophy of rebellious, world-changing innovation, that's the very first ingredient in their secret sauce. It's not about just selling you a product, it's about inviting you to join a movement. And that spirit, it gets infused into every single customer interaction.
You know, it's one thing to have customers who come back. That's great. But Apple has something else entirely. It's a level of devotion that, let's be honest, borders on fanatical. So how on earth do they do it?
To really understand the how, we first have to appreciate the what. Just how extreme does this devotion get? Let's look at a few examples that sound more like something out of folklore than a story from your local mall.
The passion here is just, it's incredible. So a comedian brings a live goat into an Apple store and they just roll with it. Neuroscientists, I'm not kidding, found that when devout Apple fans look at their products, it literally triggers the same parts of the brain as a religious experience. And get this, one guy drove for 5 days, clear across the country, just to be at an Apple store for its 10th anniversary. This isn't just brand loyalty. For some people, it's a pilgrimage.
So how do you create an experience that inspires that level of fanaticism? Well, the secret doesn't actually start with the shiny products on the tables. Nope, it starts with who you decide to let through the employee entrance in the first place.
And here's the core difference, right here. Most companies, they hire for proficiency. They're looking for technical skills, for industry experience. Apple, they completely flip that script. They hire teachers, musicians, artists, people who have magnetic personalities, who are naturally kind, who have passion. They figured out something crucial. You can lead passionate people, but you can only manage employees. And this isn't just some weird Silicon Valley tech thing. This quote from an Applebee's franchise owner just hits the nail on the head. It's a universal principle. You can train for almost any skill, but you just can't train someone to be genuinely kind and nice. Apple would much rather hire a passionate musician who knows nothing about tech than a cynical expert.
But okay, hiring the right people, that's just step one. You've also got to build a culture where they can really thrive. And for Apple, that means creating an environment that's all about trust and being fearless.
This whole thing is built on a concept they call fearless feedback. It basically means that anyone, from a part-timer to a manager, can give and receive constructive feedback. And this isn't about being rude or questioning authority. It's about building a team that is so strong, so trust-based, that honest communication just becomes the norm. It lets them constantly learn and get better together. And this high-trust culture, it gives them a massive, massive advantage, especially when you compare it to the norm. In a typical company, the level of trust is actually shockingly low. Only about half of employees even trust senior management, and barely a third think their leaders act with integrity. That kind of environment creates politics and friction, and it slows everything down. Apple's high-trust model, by comparison, is a genuine superpower. This is one of my all-time favorite stories about trust in action. A young Jack Welch, the guy who would later become the legendary CEO of GE, he made a mistake that blew the roof clean off a factory. He was absolutely sure he was going to get fired. But instead, his boss focused on what he learned from the mistake. That's what a culture of trust really does. It turns mistakes into opportunities for growth, not reasons for punishment. All right, so you've got the right people, and they're in this fearless, high-trust culture. So what's next? Well, Apple gives them a simple, repeatable framework to guide every single customer interaction. And here it is. The acronym is, of course, A.P.P.L.E. Approach, probe, present, listen, and end. It's such a simple but incredibly effective roadmap. It ensures a consistent, high-quality experience for every single person who walks through their doors, whether they end up buying something or not. Okay, let's zoom in on that present step for a second, because it is so key. Apple trained its staff to sell the benefit, not the feature. Nobody really cares about a dual-core A5 chip, right? What we care about is being able to browse the web faster. This example from a medical device company says it all. Don't sell the technology, sell what the technology does for a human being. Sell the outcome.
And this is exactly how those steps create one of those magic moments in the real world. A specialist took the time to probe, to ask questions, and learned a customer's husband was a photographer. This didn't just lead to selling the right iPad, it led to her recommending a camera connection kit the customer didn't even know existed. That is a wow moment. It solves a real problem and builds a deep, lasting relationship.
And all of this brings us to the final, and I think the most important piece of the puzzle. Because the hiring, the culture, the service steps, they don't just exist in a vacuum. They all serve a single, unifying, higher purpose.
This is it. This is the vision that fuels the entire machine. The goal isn't sales quotas or revenue per square foot, even though they are amazing at those things. The ultimate goal, the true north for every single employee, is to use their technology to enrich people's lives.
I mean, just think about that for a second. An employee took a few extra moments to teach a father a new skill on his computer, and the dad was so happy, so empowered by what he just learned, that his genuine emotional response was to give the employee a kiss on the cheek. You don't get that kind of reaction from just moving a box. You get that from actually enriching a life.
And really, that's what this all boils down to. Apple built an empire not just on brilliant products, but on a foundation of genuine human connection. They hire for kindness, they build a culture of trust, and they focus every single interaction on one goal: enriching lives. So the question to leave you with is this: what's that one more thing you can do to make a real difference for your customers?